Donald
Thank you.
Trump also proposing a new, more precise ideological test. You heard my colleague Blake Berman talk about it. So this is for those who want to enter the U.S.
In the Cold War, we had an ideological screening test. The time is overdue to develop a new screening test. Those who do not believe in our Constitution or who support bigotry and hatred will not be admitted for immigration. We will have to temporarily suspend immigration from some of the most dangerous and volatile regions of the world that have a history of exporting terrorism.
My next guest says this is exactly what he has been calling for years. With me now, the president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Zuhdi, thanks so much, as always, for being here. How do you think this test will work? Because what if people just lie?
Well, you know, Deirdre, I mean, lying is, right now we're doing nothing. So at the bottom line is that we can at least begin to finally vet against the ideologies of those who would not believe in our system. If our Statue of Liberty means anything, it's about those who believe in freedom and liberty. And right now, studies have shown that 13% of the refugees have sympathies for ISIS. So if we can find that out by polling, we can certainly find it out by screening and vetting them for. And our Muslim reform movement, as you mentioned, has been calling for this for years. We have a declaration, 2 pages, that says we as Americans, and it was great to hear Mr. Trump use the term reformers when he talked about the commission he wants to set up, et cetera. We're finally having the conversation we should have had during the primaries. It should have been going on for years, rather than this sort of bland ban of Muslims, but rather banning the political, theological ideology of the Sharia state. And the funny thing is, many of these country leaders that he says are our allies that should be working with us, I would think the King of Saudi Arabia, the King of Qatar, and many of their military apparatuses would not be allowed to come here, because they certainly don't believe in our values either. So it's good to hear us finally talking about vetting for ideologies and against them.
Yeah, he signaled out in a positive sense, right? Jordan and Egypt and Israel, and stop there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you know, this question about Russia, I think domestically he's right on target. We have to protect and stop the influx of those who don't share our ideals. But globally, you know, we have to have a strategy in saying that the current allies are the ones who are brewing these militants. I was saddened not to hear him mention Assad. You can't get rid of ISIS without also getting rid of Assad. You can't allow this cancer to flourish simply by ending it by bombing. You know, the old paradigm, I was sort of hearing the old 20th century paradigm of, well, not doing any regime change anymore or nation building. Well, the opposite is what's happening now, as Obama's sending, you know, hundreds of millions, if not billions, to Iran. That's regime development, and that's what Russia's doing. So the silence in the audience is, I think we need to marry those two, have a policy discussion that does the same thing in our foreign policy about working with those who share our values as the policy of those of the ideology of the refugees that we're seeking to bring here and be that bastion of liberty for them.
How can you question, though, Zuhdi, when you're in a room? I mean, I know in Holland, for example, they show films that are very Western films, if you like, and they try to gauge just behind a double mirror whether people are upset by them or not, and they determine, at least that's one metric that goes into the determination, is this person coming here who believes in Sharia law or not? How long does a process like that take?
Well, it can't be that subtle. I think it needs to be pretty direct in interviewing. The Israelis have been doing this for a long time. I mean, there's a lot of folks that have been. You vet, do they believe in any type of idealized caliphate? Do they believe in an idealized Islamic state? And if they give you apologetics that it's like democracy, Sharia, etc., that doesn't work. That's not compatible. We did it in the Cold War. The documents for immigration still say, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Do you believe in communist ideology, etc.? That's still there. It's
so
a
that
vestige
reference
of the 20th
made sense
century.
to you, where Donald Trump said we have to fight this extremist ideology with the same fervor that we fought in the Cold War.
Absolutely, and that's how we do it through, I think this is why he needs this commission of reformist Muslims. We Muslims who are working within the community that can quickly, in 20, 30 minutes, tell the difference between somebody who really is here just sort of, you know, working, you know, with the majority, but if they had a majority would want an Islamic state and not use the U.S. Constitution. We can tell that by the way that they view Sharia playing a role in government. And I think you can vet that if you have the right Muslim reformers working with you inside the government. Right now, security clearances, nothing is vetted for those against those who do not share our ideas. And that's why we've had so many security lapses within police, Homeland Security, etc.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, thank you as always. Appreciate your
Anytime.
insights and your expertise.